Welcome to a game between TrueDarkMasta. Here, starting with the Recon Commander and Rulers. And he's going versus Lukas321. So, let's start his game. He chose to go Cloak Bots and a Strike Commander. So, he wondered what he would do against the Fencer push. He struggled against the Fencer push with his glaives, and you can see here he's making some small mistakes here with the metal extractor here. He didn't build it completely. Instead it goes to build a radar here. You're wasting quite a lot of build power. Like, your commander is quite valuable at the start of the game, and yeah, you should try to minimize the walking. Like now you're walking back and forth here, which was quite unnecessary. Like, your commander starts with a radar, and since you're not going for like greedy start, this is a pretty like one con and raiders, that's a pretty like non-greedy start, so you don't really need that radar there. I think right now you could have waited to build that radar. You can also insert stuff into the queue by holding shift, by holding a space. Yeah. Meanwhile, yeah, you're trying to get some glaives out. That's good. Always try to check what your opponent's doing. Try to force them to slow down their expansion. Scorchers are... you can face off against Scorchers. You just have to be careful so you don't chase them too much. Yeah, you dealt quite a bit of damage against the Scorcher there, but you lost one glaive. Your glaives will regenerate faster, so that Scorcher is almost dead. So losing one glaive and trading that much HP against a Scorcher is not that bad. But yeah, you have to be careful with how you chase it. And now you made another con and you're expanding, making energy with one con, and yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. And you're making a Lotus turret here. I think that's a bit defensive. Like, it's better if you could make like the Lotus turret here, or maybe even down here. It depends on the situation. Like, rovers are pretty slow to drive up this slope. So the rovers are gonna struggle to get up this slope here, so which gives you a few extra time to react with the glaives and such. But yeah, you can make a Lotus turret here if you are afraid of a run by the Scorchers. But also you have your commander here, so he can potentially block any enemies coming. Oh, and now he's actually gonna go for that. Your glaives were out of position, now he's coming up the ramp, and your Lotus turret is gonna pay off. So, yeah, not bad after all. And your glaives finish off the last one. So yeah, if you feel like you don't have the attention to like micro against the enemy, making a Lotus turret there is fine. It paid off. But you can also make them a bit more forward and try to... there's like basically two entrances to the base, and TrueDarkMasta is microing pretty well here, so he gets one metal extractor. But yeah, there's basically two entrances to your base, so yeah, it's not that hard to defend with a Lotus turret or two, and your commander as well. But yeah, we're expanding pretty well here. Your opponent is not expanding a lot. He's making defense here. So yeah, he's making a defense up here, blocking one entrance with two Lotus turrets, but this entrance is basically undefended. This picket is behind the factory and won't be able to shoot that well. So yeah, you're getting a bit ahead here. You're sending this con to expand greedily. That's fine. If you can get away with it, it's not a huge risk to send out con alone like this. So that's good. Your commander is a bit idle here. Yeah, you want to try to keep him moving. Like, you probably want to move there or there. Usually want the commander to be on the field so they can do a lot of damage. But it seems that you're also excessing a bit. Yeah, if your commander would be building something or something, you wouldn't really be accessing. So you just now started accessing, but you also have some pretty good expansion. And without radar, like, you won't see this coming and you're probably gonna lose these mexes. He gets a trade there, a Scorcher for Mex there. Well, it's right next to Commander, so not really that much worth it. What? Come on, get me up, camera. I'm using another camera that I'm not used to. And he gets the raid on those mexes, and you run your Conjurer into the enemy commander. Like, this is a bit about attention. Like, if you have the spare attention, you wouldn't run your Conjurer into the enemy commander like that. So yeah, and you're gonna lose these two mexes. So yeah, but you're using your metal now that you have a caretaker up, so that's good. You only accessed a bit of metal, quite a bit actually. 270 metal, that's quite a bit for this early game. You had build power to spare, now you start building with your commander. If you could have done that earlier, that would have been good. You wouldn't have wasted so much metal. And yeah, you should try to re-expand on those metal extractors. And here comes another raid. You're making a Lotus turret there, that's fine. If you can make it a bit more forward, like here, that's a bit better, I think. Because then you're protecting this mech as well. And you surround the enemy here, that's nice. What the hell? That's weird. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Yeah, your commander is idle again, but I guess you're afraid to move up here. But yeah, you're pretty slow to rebuild that mechs, and yeah, at this point it would be nice to just pop down 1 or 2 Lotus turrets here, 1 or 2 Lotus stairs to make you feel a bit safer. I can see that you're kind of like, yeah, when you're starting out with 0k, you can struggle to multitask, and even though you have 1 radar there, but you could have a radar there as well maybe, so you could see incoming units earlier and be able to react to it earlier. So making defense, if you're a bit unsure about, you're a bit afraid of raids, is perfectly fine when you're starting, when you're like not that experienced with 0k. So yeah, at this point, yeah, the enemy is starting to make some fences here, and countering fencers has to be done pretty like, you have to be aware what you're doing. Now you're just sending 1 Reaver and a few Glaives against this. And that's not a good fight for you, that's not enough Glaives, so you're gonna lose a lot of units. That's the thing about fencers, if you can't go for them, you're gonna lose a lot of units, so your attrition starts to get pretty behind here. You can see here that the value lost here, you got quite a bit behind from that. And now they're pushing your commander, and your army is kinda out of position, trying to chase the commander. They might get it, but probably not. Yeah, but you get a mix, and now your commander is kind of out of position here, and you're not reacting properly. So yeah. Meanwhile, you're gonna get his commander, so that's a small win at least. But this is not enough Glaives to go for these fencers. If you want to use Glaives against fencers, you have to make sure you have enough of them to actually do some damage. Meanwhile, your commander is just standing here and taking damage. Yeah, and now you sacrifice a lot of units. You can see the attrition value going way down. You lost a lot of value. So you can't engage the fencers piecemeal. You have to like have enough troops to force them back or make them redeploy. Like if you have Reavers, they're pretty good, like you're gonna walk forward and force the Scorchers can't really get you, and then your Glaives can try to chase down the fencer when they try to flee. The Slings are also a decent counter if you have like line of sight, and yeah, they mostly have pretty decent line of sight themselves, so you're probably gonna watch these fencers. Yeah, and yeah. And you have built your queue is 5 glaives and 1 con. That's a bit much for this map, but it's not a big issue that you build too many cons. But you have a So yeah, really it came down to how you engage the fencers. You can see here that you are, I think you were ahead. No, you were pretty even still. You were pretty even throughout the game. You had like similar metal value produced, but now you got a bit behind. Yeah. And again, this is not enough glaives to run down these fencers. So yeah. So yeah. Fighting fencers has to be done with care if you're cloaky bots. There are a lot of options, like glaives work, they work pretty well against Scorchers, and if you have enough glaives and the Scorchers are out of position, you can overrun the fencers if you have a full force, but it can also be risky if you don't have a full force to go against the fencers. Slings kind of work if you have line of sight on the, if it is stalemate, if you have like some defenses to have behind, like a stinger or something, then yeah, slings can really work, but it takes time. And you probably need some kind of spotting, like you probably need some conures standing in the front line, or you can have a radar to spot them a bit. Like a radar has a bit more line of sight. It has 800 line of sight, so you can use that to spot against the fences and use slings. Ronins are decent. It's like, if you can walk forward and shoot at the fencers, then you can probably kill them if you have enough Ronins. Enough slings, enough Ronins, I mean. Then you can probably walk forward and kill the fencers. And you can combo that with different units. Knights are also good. If the enemy has like a combination of like rippers and fencers, then knights are pretty good, because rippers are pretty slow and you can walk forward and tank a lot of damage, and you're gonna force the enemy to retreat or die against knights. If it's Scorchers, you can like use Reavers instead, and yeah. Sight can also work, but takes a bit of micro and premeditation, and you have to catch the Scorchers and Rippers out of position so you can kill the fencers effectively. It's kind of a high micro, like high risk, high reward, and requires quite a bit of attention. So yeah. Yeah. So what else? Having radar helps. Like once you get skilled enough, you can judge. Like you will see on the radar, and you can like judge how many units. Like a Scorcher and a Fencer is about roughly equal values. So if you can defeat one, they're Scorcher are faster, so if you get really skilled, you can differentiate Scorchers from Fencers when they're radar dots, and you know how like you would engage them. But yeah, that's really important. You have to basically have the experience to be able to know how many units you need to defeat them. And then as a Cloakybot players, there's a lot of like, if you have enough glaives, then you can use glaives. But if there's rippers around, or like the enemy's using their Scorch Spell, then it's going to be hard to close the distance to the fencers. And then maybe if the enemy has just Scorcher and fencers, you maybe want a Reaver to push them, or a Knight, and together with your glaives. Or you can have Ronin and Reaver, can also work pretty well. But yeah, it's mostly a numbers game. Like you need enough units, and to make sure that you have enough numbers to overrun them. And you want to be careful about engaging them piecemeal. Like if you look at the value lost here, it was when you started engaging the fencers piecemeal that you lost the game. Also consider your commander. commander is pretty good against defensors. Like he has like 3000 or 4000 HP. He can go up against them and either kill them or force them to retreat. And together with your own glaives or reavers, yeah, it works pretty well to push them back. At this skill level, I think most players are gonna struggle at like taking offensives back and retreating them against commander. So if you just have your commander and glaives behind it and maybe a reaver, you can just walk against the fencers and you'll probably kill the scorchers and fencers. Like the early combination, which is a pretty good combination, is to use scorchers and fencers, and that works because fencers are fast, so you can redeploy against slow units. But if the enemy is new or like at this skill level, you can probably just walk towards them and kill the Scorchers with your Reavers and Glaives and Commander, and then kill the Fencers. But it's a numbers game, so you have to make sure. Like, I wouldn't say there's a hard counter against Fencers as a Cloakybot player. Either the Fencers are fast, so they can like retreat when they face off against Knights, lower units, or they can like attack where the slings are not. So there's no hard counters to Fencer really. You have to be your like actions have to be premeditated and like, yeah, you have to go in with a thought with how you defeat them. Also, try to rebuild your mexes faster. You got raided and lost some mexes, and you didn't rebuild them for quite some while. So that's why the metal produced here. You can see that you started to fall behind as you got raided and didn't rebuild your mexes, and then your opponent overtook you on metal income. And also try to avoid, like you can see it even further behind on metal use, because you had 500 metal in storage. That's plus you accessed quite a bit of metal here as well. So make sure you have enough build power helping the factory, and if you practice your attention as well, like your commander could have built those solar collectors and loads turret earlier, and you wouldn't have accessed, and yeah, stuff like that. Well, good luck and have fun.